Well, today we're in what might be the most famous psalm ever, Psalm 22, 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, it begins. Um, like Psalm 22, this is a affirmation of really unwavering trust in God, even when things are terribly difficult. Um, I'm really humbled when I go through these Psalms and think about my own problems and compare them to the problems that the psalmists, in this case and in this book of Psalms, um, frequently David, what he had to endure. And David was often being pursued for his life. People were trying to kill him. He was living in caves. He was in hiding all the time. He was associating with the enemies of Israel and sometimes pretending his own insanity in order to find protection. And how far that is away from my experience, and reminds me that if David could experience such trial and be persevering and enjoy fellowship with God, how much more should I be able to do that given my so called problems? I've entitled this Unbreakable Fellowship, and you'll see why here in a minute. As I said, it's one of the most famous Psalms, but I'm afraid that we only hear it at funerals. That's really unfortunate. It's really just such a rich source of comfort and hope. Shouldn't be limited to just morbid occasions. You know, the Lord has given us His word to make Himself known to us and to comfort us and to help us. And Psalm 23 does all of those things and more. I think I'd suggest as you read through the psalm today, it's a short psalm. Let me switch over here. Again, I forget to do that. It's a short psalm, only 6 verses. But as you read through it today, have your pencil out or a highlighter or a colored pencil and do a couple things. Help you to really engage with the psalm a little bit would be to mark all the things that the Lord is and does. So, for example, the psalm presents him as a shepherd. What he does is he makes his sheep to lie down. Picture of safety and repose. He leads them. He restores them. He guides them. He prepares them. He anoints them. That is, he dresses their wounds. He grooms them. What great pictures here of how the Lord takes care of us. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. And coming to this psalm, maybe underlining these words and reflecting on them will make you remember how the Lord has provided these things to you, and will also make you long to experience more and more of it. Also, we see as we go through this why David was so confident. Again, David's life was one of mostly, often, one of running, one of looking for safety, one of turning to the Lord, one of depending on the Lord, and the Lord came through for him every time. The Lord shepherded him, He gave him rest, He led him, He restored him when he was in sin. I would think of Psalm 51 and his sin with Bathsheba. As you can see, I've picked out verse 4 here as the verse that we want to hear. The verses, again, maybe one of the most famous of all the verses in a famous psalm. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Notice, even though, this introduces a real contrast between what David is experiencing and how he's reacting. In other words, David's saying, even though I am threatened by death, I am not fearing. This is an important distinction, and something we could really learn from David here is that our reactions don't need to be enslaved or captured by our experience. We are free to choose our reaction. We may face sometimes life-threatening situations. Certainly throughout the day, we face situations that threaten our peace, our sense of security, our sense of safety. But no matter what those experiences are, we don't need to react to fear. I fear no evil. This is David's reaction. He's facing death. For almost everybody, the facing of death will elicit fear, but not for David. Why is that? Why is David can say he fears no evil? The last part of that clause, stanza tells us, you are with me. David knows that God is with him. He knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that God is close to him. He's watching over him. He's comforting him. He is his shepherd, as he says at the beginning. The Lord is my shepherd, he says here. Let's point that out to you. But David knows that he is with him. How does he know? The end of the verse tells us here. He says, your rod and your staff comfort me. Your rod and your staff. Well, the rod was a weapon. It was kind of a club, or a shillelagh, you could say. It was used to drive off threats, drive off predators. The staff, on the other hand, was a tool to guide and, when needed, rescue the sheep. So these are two things that the shepherd has and two things that the Lord has. David's proof that God was with him was the fact that God used that rod to protect him and maybe even to chasten him. But also he used his staff to direct David. So David knew, as I trust, brothers and sisters, you know from your own experience with the Lord, how he corrects you and how he guides you, that he is with you. He is with you. So if you're a child of God, he is at work, both chastening and guiding you. Now, just reflect on that for a minute. Just think about that. Both his correction and his guidance are sources of comfort. Oftentimes when we're under the chastening of God, when we're being punished by him for some sin or some resistance to his will, we think that maybe he's far from us, or that he's turned us over to Satan, or any number of things that we wonder, where is God? And the answer is he's right there. He's shepherding us. He's shepherding you. He's shepherding me as he chastens us, as he corrects us, as he punishes us. But he's also there when he guides us, when he leads us in the direction that he wants us to go. He's there with us. So both of these, both the chastening and the guiding, both the difficult times when we are under his correction, and those wonderful times when we are at the spiritual heights, when we feel like our sails are full of wind and the Lord is driving us along. In both cases, he's there, and he's there with us, and he's with you and I, and we need to remember these things and be careful not only to heed his guidance, not only to feel his presence when our sails are full, but also to not despise his correction, but in order to receive it. Now, for our good, God has not only provided us this psalm, and he is not only our shepherd, but he in his grace and his mercy has provided to the church what 1 Peter 5 calls under-shepherds. These are the pastors, the elders of the church that are there to comfort the church. This is the pattern of ministry that the Lord has to us, and through his under-shepherds, he ministers this way to us all, taking care of us, leading us, guiding us, lying us down in green pastures, on and on. All these things are a kind of a paradigm or a pattern of pastoral ministry as well. So God has provided these under shepherds to Jesus to correct and to guide and to comfort his church and to equip his church. So I'd encourage you, if your elders, including your pastor, are not actively correcting, actively guiding, actively comforting the church, you need to find a place, a Bible teaching church with faithful leadership. Doesn't mean perfect leadership, doesn't mean flawless, but leaders who recognize that the Lord himself provides us our pattern of shepherding care, and that they are to be providing or following the Lord's example in their ministry to you. Can't say how important this is. We live in days of apostasy, and apostasy is not just outside the church, but it's inside the church as well. So, brothers and sisters, as part of the remnant, you need to be careful to be in a church that is caring for you in these difficult and last days. That's my prayer for you. I can say without hesitation, it's my prayer for the church every day, that the remnant would be cared for and shepherded, guided and guarded both. So may you be guided and guarded by the shepherds of your church, brothers and sisters. God bless you. Have a great day. Take these truths into the day today and live them out to the glory of God. God bless you.